My name is Jillian, and this is Jillian Camps Arizona, and today we're going to be talking about you now have your backcountry permit, and now what do you do, right? The first key is that you wait, don't do a thing until you have the backcountry permit in your hot little hands. You don't want to get any more reservations until you have the backcountry permit, because if you accidentally preemptively set anything up, it's kind of hard to cancel those things. So the key is to not reserve anything until you have the backcountry permit. They usually email it to you. They're very good at doing that. So that is one of the keys. So today we're just going to be talking about what next. You have the backcountry permit in your hands. It came in your email. They say congratulations, you got the backcountry permit. Now what do you do? So the first thing I do is book the food at the bottom. So for my trip, we're going to be at the bottom of the canyon on the second day. And what you can do is there's 3 different meals that you can choose from at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And I'll show those in a screen share as well, but I have these on my phone right now. The first meal, so I'm talking about dinner here specifically. So for dinner, there's a steak dinner, which includes a garden salad, the cornbread, which is very good, by the way. They say that it's a New York strip center cut steak, but it kind of tastes like cube steak to me. Don't forget, they charge $50 per person. But in order to get it to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, they have to pack it in. They have to mule it in. So, I'm not complaining. I will still eat it. I will be starving. I don't care what it is. They could have just picked up some roadkill and fed it to me. It's okay. But I'm happy to pay the $50 because trust me, it is a lot better to pay than to hike in a stove and all that type of stuff, which, by the way, my brother and I are not doing this time. So there's the steak dinner at the bottom, which includes the garden salad, the cornbread, the New York strip steak, baked potato, seasonal fresh vegetable, the house choice house-made dessert. The house-made dessert, by the way, I've done this 3 times, is a pan cake. So they bake it in these huge chocolate cake with chocolate icing. So in these huge sheets of pancake, and the last time we went, my brother ended up getting 3 slices of the cake. So it was very good. So it's just something to keep in mind. They're very nice if you get down to the bottom, and they're great. It's almost like a family down there, so they have coffee or tea for your available. And then they have the stew dinner, which consists of either the vegetarian stew or the beef stew, which my brother and I conclude that it's probably the beef that they serve from the steak dinner. That's terrible to say, but it's probably true. They probably just cut up the meat from the steak dinner, the extra, the fatty stuff or whatever, throw it in the stew, because it's truly, that's what it tastes like. Both of these dinners are $49.95 per person. So to me, it's well worth it because you get so much food and, salads and whatnot. And the stew is actually really good. And I have not had the vegetarian part ever, but I've had the steak and the stew, and both are really good. I prefer the stew just because it tastes more tenderized, but either way. And there's also other things down there. So, after you have the backcountry permit, now is the time to book either if you want the steak dinner at the bottom or the stew, which are both at different times. So the dinner seating time for the steak dinner is at 5 p.m. and then the hiker stew or the vegetarian chili are at 6:30. So the key is that in order to time it while you're hiking, you just have to be sure to wake up early, get to the bottom of wherever you're hiking or whatnot, and just time it so that you're down at a certain time. And then what also my brother and I like to do is we like to get what's called the hiker's sack lunch for the next day, so we can pick that up. You can pick those up starting at 3 a.m. on the day of the hiker's sack lunch. So they have a little window. You just go up and pick it up and walk back to your campsite. I was one that picked it up, and I was very frightened because there was lots of mule deer around and it was very loud and crunchy, and you don't know, there's things at the bottom of the canyon, but whatever. We like to do the sack lunch as well on the next day. This saves us from bringing a stove, so we don't have to, cart in a stove, heat it up or whatever. This time at the Grand Canyon, we're not doing that. So the first day that we're doing, we're picking up Subway on the way up. My brother's picking up 2 footlongs. I think I'm just gonna pick up a footlong probably to feed myself for the first day during the meal times, and then having just a variety of snacks. I've had a whole video talking about snacks, so you know, that's the key, is to book these things and to decide what you're gonna do after you get the backcountry permit. You can start making these decisions. The other thing you have to do after you get the backcountry permit is you should immediately book a hotel for the top of the canyon, you know, the day up, because you don't want to drive up there and then start hiking immediately. That's not gonna work. What my brother and I like to do is we like to drive up the day before we start hiking, stay up there one night, and then start hiking the next day. So this time I bought us the Grand Canyon, the Bright Angel Lodge. So we have one of the cabins, I think, just for the one night. I think it's pretty expensive. It's like $250 a night, but I think it's worth it just for the one night. You get nice, comfortable beds, you know, you're not camping or anything like that. And then in the morning, after you're showered, you're well rested, then you start the hike, and it works out very good. So there's also at the bottom, we've never done this, but they also have breakfast. And that starts at 5:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. for the seating. But we're hiking, you know, so we just like to pick up the sack lunch at around 3 a.m. and get to hiking after that, because that way we don't have to worry about, you know, waiting for breakfast and then hiking leisurely. You know, we want to get out of there before the heat of the day. The key is that you need to start booking things after you have the backcountry permit in your hand. You know, if that includes your flights, the hotel, and any food that you want at the bottom of the Grand Canyon at Phantom Ranch. So the Phantom Ranch has a whole website that you can use in order to book at the bottom, and I'll kind of, you know, I'll show that here in a simplified form, but I'm not going over how to get the Grand Canyon food at the bottom. I usually just call them at their number and then just book it that way, because the website's more for the lottery of getting into the cabins, if that makes sense. So anyways, I just want to make a short little video on what to do after you have the backcountry permit in your hot little hands. And the key is, don't do anything before, because you never know. You may not get the dates that you requested. It may be the next weekend or whatnot. And you don't want to have to book multiple things and then have to cancel and move them around. It's really annoying. So just be sure to wait very patiently until you have the email, and then you can start booking all these types of things, like the food, the hotel, the flight, all those things. So that's all I wanted to say. So thank you so much for joining me on this Jillian Camps Arizona video. Feel free to hit that like button if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it. Also, if you're not following me and you want to follow me around, feel free to hit that subscribe button below, or you can like my page on Facebook. That's at Jillian Camps Arizona. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.